How about a good morning now? Welcome to the Unitarian Church of Los Alamos. I'm the Reverend John Cullinan, your minister here. As Unitarian Universalists, we affirm and promote the inherent worth and dignity of all people and gather together in a free and responsible search for truth and meaning. Whoever you are, whomever you love, wherever you are right now, watching from home or here in the sanctuary, wherever you are on your life's journey, you are welcome to be part of this community. I want to extend a special welcome to any visitors or first-time guests we have among us. There we are. And hymns of praise were sung. A special welcome to any visitors or first-time guests we have among us here. I'd like to invite you to join us all for coffee and conversation in our fellowship hall after the service. I would love to meet you, introduce myself, answer any questions you might have about our community here. New parents are encouraged to have a conversation with Reverend DeYoe, our Director of Lifespan Religious Education. And now, take a moment to get centered for worship today. Close your eyes. Feel yourself grounded where you sit. Take a deep breath in and out. And let us begin. We gather together today with sacred intention to declare that justice is our prayer. We affirm in covenant with the beloved community that is possible, not here, not quite yet. The seeds have been planted time and again, and we remember all those who went before us that made beloved community in our time a dream that could be realized. Justice is our prayer. May our time together continue to water the budding trees of our diverse interdependence. May our time together give air and nourishment to the parts of our collective spirits that need to grow and thrive in order to embrace equity as a known way of being. Justice is our prayer. We affirm in covenant with the beloved community that is possible. Come, let us worship together on this beautiful morning. Would you all please rise in body or spirit and join us in our opening hymn, number 40. Please remain standing and join in our affirmation. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve life in fellowship, to the end that all souls shall grow in harmony. Thus do we covenant with each and with all. Please be seated. Candles of all celebration this morning have been lit for the precipitation that brings green in the spring, amen. For your favorite team, whoever that might be, mine's not playing. And for music, for all our joys, all our sorrows, whether we share them aloud with one another or we hold them close and quiet in our hearts. Let us be together now in a moment of silence. You know, right before we started, somebody asked what was the proper way to wish good luck to a minister before they start the service. And I said jokingly, don't burn the church down. I gotta be careful what I say. Please join with me now in a spirit of prayer and reflection. Eternal and beloved, gracious source of all life and all love, we come together this morning grateful for this time out of time which we have set apart so that we might become more fully present to our own selves, to each other, to our community, to that which we call holy. May our joys be celebrated together, our wounds be healed together, our hearts be open together. Let us make this earth a heaven, right here, right now. Let us create a heaven here on earth where love and truth and justice reign. Let us welcome all at our pearly gates, our freedom table, amid singing and great rejoicing. Black, white, yellow, red, all our lovely colors. Straight, lesbian, gay, bisexual, queer, questioning, cisgendered, transgendered, non-binary, healthy, sick, hurting, variously abled, young, old, gentle, cranky, joyous, sorrowing. Let no one feel excluded. Let no one feel alone. May all have enough to meet their needs. May all share power generously. May all venerate the earth, our mother, and tend her with wisdom and compassion. May we make our earth an Eden, a paradise. May hate, violence, and warfare cease to clash in causes too old and tired to name. Religion, nationalism, racism, the false god of gold, deep-rooted ethnic hatreds. May these all disperse and wane. May we see each other's true selves. May we all dwell together in peace and joy and understanding. Let us make a heaven here on earth before it is too late. Let us make this heaven on earth for each other's sake. All this we pray in the names of those known and unknown, present and absent, remembered and forgotten, in the names of all the helpers of humankind. Amen.
Okay, does this work? Yeah, okay. So I would like to invite all the young and young at heart to come up for a Time for All Ages story. Hey guys, come on up. Yeah, bring one of those things. Hey, Carter. All right, so today we're talking about how empathy relates to justice and equity. So does anyone know what empathy means? What does it mean? What do you think? Empathy. Being kind to others. Saying things in nicer ways. Yeah, those are all aligned with empathy for sure. And it's like actually like putting yourself in somebody else's shoes. So like, let's say your friend is feeling sad, right? And maybe understanding why they feel sad, right? Or they're feeling super happy and maybe understanding why they're super happy, right? So it's feeling somebody else's emotions, right? For yourself and understanding those. So it's a lot about understanding another person's emotions. So we're going to tell this story about empathy. And empathy, knowing each other's stories, can lead us to a place of seeking justice together. So I need y'all's help. Do you want to help me? 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 Okay. All right. So this is a story that's going to use some movement. So get ready to move your bodies if you want. You don't have to. But this is a story about the wounded seal. A folk tale from Scotland, and it's about empathy, right? It's about a seal hunter feeling the seal's pain. So long ago in Scotland, there was a small fishing village that stood at the edge of the sea. Now, in this village was a man who had made his living from the killing of seals and selling their skins in the market. His father and grandfather before him had done it, and it was the only way that he knew how to make a living. So one day, the seal hunter got into his small boat and rowed out from the rocky shores. Okay, so get in your boat. Everyone rowing out. You're the seal hunter. Okay, make a motion. All right, and then when I ring the chime, we're going to go back to the story. Whoops. All right. So movement done. Okay. We rowed. All right. So He rode and rode until he came to the place where the seals, and seal today is played by shark. Or dolphin. Yeah. Dolphin. So he rode and rode until he came to the place where the seals were gathered. He put in his oars and let the boat drift. He watched as the seals swam and played together. So, how would you swim if you were a seal? Can you show me? Yeah, do that. Do the worm. Yeah, there you go. There you go. There you go. Awesome. Oh my gosh. Oh, we got some. There you go. Holy smokes. We got some. This is good. Give him a round of applause. Woo woo. All right. So, soon a large gray seal came up beside the boat. Quickly, the hunter, he stabbed his knife into the seal and reached for his net. But before he could throw the net over, the seal swam away with the seal hunter's knife still in its side. Uh-oh. The seal hunter fished for small fish that day and then rode home. That night, as he was sitting eating his dinner, there came a knock on the door. There stood a woman who had come to his door on horseback. She was handsomely dressed, but her eyes were sad. "There is a rich man who would like to buy many seal skins from you," she said. "I will take you to him." She beckoned for the seal hunter to jump up behind her on the horse, and they rode like the wind. Can you demonstrate how you would ride a horse? Ride like the wind. Ride like the wind. Ride about like the wind. Okay. Soon. Oh, here. Chime. Done. Okay. Soon they came to the edge of the cliffs as they dismounted. Now, these are pretty tall cliffs, right? You can picture them in Scotland, Ireland, that area. The seal hunter looked around, but he could not see anyone else there. He was about to ask where the rich man was when the handsome woman took him by the hand and pulled him over the edge of the cliff. Down, down, down they fell through the air and then into the cold sea below. They swam deeper and deeper, and soon the seal hunter realized that he could breathe underwater. In fact, he saw that his body and that of his companion had become seal bodies. They swam deeper and deeper under the water until they came to a cave opening in the side of the rock face. They swam into the cave. As they swam deeper and deeper into that cave, the seal hunter realized that they were in a great seal compound, a place with halls and rooms where many seals lived. The halls were dimly lit, but he could see many seals watching them as they swam by. All of the seals looked very sad, and there was a very gloomy feeling all around them. Suddenly, his companion stopped and showed the seal hunter a large fishing knife. "Is this yours?" she asked. "Yes," said the seal hunter honestly. "I lost it today when I speared the large seal that swam away with it." "That seal is my father," said the companion. "He now lies dying, and only you can save him." They came at that point into a darkened room. In the center of the room, on a flat rock, was a large seal with a deep wound in his hindquarters. All around, seals stood, looking on sadly. "Lay your hands upon the wound," instructed the companion. So the seal hunter felt afraid, but he swam forward and placed his hands over the wound of the seal. All the seals swam closer to watch him. The seal hunter was surprised to feel a great surge of feelings coming from the seal when he placed his hands upon the wound. They were feelings that he had never felt so strongly before. There was great pain and sadness and hopelessness, as if the world would never be right again. But gradually, the wound began to heal. And as it did, the seal hunter began to feel peace spread through him, and then hope, and then the greatest joy. Suddenly, the large seal rose up as if it had never been injured. There was great rejoicing in the compound. Let's rejoice, the seal is alive. Woo! The seal hunter's companion took him by the arm and said to him, I will take you home now, but first you must promise that you will never hunt seal again. The man did not know how he would ever make a living, but he also knew that he could not hurt the seals again. The two swam up out of the cave and up through the cold green water to the surface, and then flew up through the air until they stood on the cliffs again. They jumped on the horse's back, rode like the wind. Everyone ride like the wind again? Woo, woo, woo. Then he jumped down from the horse. As his companion turned to go, she thanked the seal hunter. He saw that her eyes were no longer sad. The man kept his word, and he never hunted the seals again. Yes? Oh, I didn't run. Oh, because you kept going. Yeah, there we go. You're right. So that is our story about how empathy could change your view about something, right? And feeling somebody else's pain or a seal's pain can also change how we think about a situation, right? So thank you for coming. And we have some drawings and some seals there you can decorate. So thanks for coming up and listening to our story, guys.
Once upon a time, way, way back, years ago, in those ancient days known as the year 2007, Once upon a time, it was so and it was not so that there was no poverty in Los Alamos County, which we know is not true. And yet that was the story I was receiving from folks in the county, from the general attitude milling about. Most of it was implicit. It had to do with how we talked about ourselves here. This is the wealthiest county in the United States. The average salary in Los Alamos County is 6 figures. We are all very highly educated people. We have had the resources to educate ourselves. We just didn't talk about it all that much. It was something that existed elsewhere. If we were helping people out, we were helping people out down in the valley where they really were very poor. And we have to help them. We have to show them how to lift themselves up and tell them how to solve their problems and send our money that way. That was the story in the atmosphere, at least. And then every once in a while, the story would be explicitly told. Very early on here, my very first letter to the editor was in response to someone who had written in to the paper to ask, who are all these poor people in Los Alamos and why are they coming here? And my answer was, they were born here. They've lived here all their lives. It's not some discrete population that's been migrating this way, trying to get at that wealth and that education. No, it's been among us. But we have this tendency as human beings to want to create discrete categories, discrete populations out of those who we might think of as other than ourselves. The poor are a monolithic body that is self-contained and always will be that population. The addicted are a discrete population of people whose population never changes, or criminals are a discrete population of people. We like to make them out of those who don't quite meet up to whatever community standards we imagine we might be living by. And the basic content of my letter to the editor that day was that, no, people shift in and out of these things all the time. I mean, all of us, to some extent, are 1 or 2 bad days away from falling into the ranks of the poor. Disasters happen. I was the poor for a while until I wasn't anymore. But that's what we like to do as human beings, categorize an other. Our Unitarian Universalist values want us to tell a different story. We affirm and promote the inherent worth and dignity of all people in our first principle, followed closely by the second, justice, equity, and compassion in human relations. Justice and equity happen to be our themes for this month as we tour through the values as they're written about in the new draft of Article 2. But those words have been there in some form or another throughout our religious history in the 7 principles as we know them today. Back in 1961, when Unitarians and Universalists first got together in that merger, the supreme worth of every individual and a goal of world community with brotherhood, justice, and peace, it's all there. And now, as we look at revising what our statement of values might be, it is expressed justice and equity each getting their own value this time, and I want to focus on the equity question today. We declare that every person has the right to flourish with inherent dignity and worthiness. We covenant to use our time, wisdom, attention, and money to build and sustain fully accessible and inclusive communities. That is the value we're coming together to start to express together. That every person has the right to flourish. And I love that word. And I'm now going to pull up the notes on my phone that I didn't print out. What does it mean to flourish? The Health and Equity Policy Lab at the University of Pennsylvania has a bit to say on the subject. What does flourishing look like? A flourishing person is living a good, fulfilling life, a life with a sense of purpose. They have the ability to do what they want to do and be who they want to be. They have and are committed to building good mental health, physical health, and social health in all areas of their lives and those of their community members. This includes family, work, education, community, politics, economics, and more. A flourishing person has the ability to help their bodies thrive, their emotional needs met, the trust and cooperation to function in social settings, and the ability to use their reason for individual and collective ends. The flourishing person has got it going on. But how do we flourish, and how do we help others flourish? How do we stand up for the rights of everybody to flourish in that manner? The Health, Equity, and Policy Lab has a few suggestions in this same article, but they're very individually centered and have to do with shifting focus in yourself and making commitments to things. And that's well and good. Everything starts from within. But it doesn't answer the question of how we affirm and promote equity, flourishing for all throughout the community. It begins by getting over this kind of natural tendency to categorize and box up and make into discrete populations the other, the poor, the addicted, the criminal, the immigrant, what have you. When we talk about people as others, we are turning people into objects, problems to be solved. We begin to affirm and promote flourishing when we can shift our vantage point from object to subject, to view people individually as they are in their own right, not as part of some monolithic other that they may or may not be. And to make that happen, what we need to do is get proximate. That phrase comes to us from Bryan Stephenson, a civil rights attorney who has worked on the Innocence Project, among other things, and was also our Ware lecturer at General Assembly in 2017. He says this: I think sometimes when you're trying to do justice work, when you're trying to make a difference, when you're trying to change the world, the thing you need to do is get close enough to people who are falling down, get close enough to people who are suffering, close enough to people who are in pain, who've been discarded and disfavored, to get close enough for getting close. I'm waiting.
I want to affirm how you don't have to be embarrassed to say, I'm trying to change the world. I think we can change the world. And I have a simple little prescription. I think there are 4 things that we're going to have to think about. We're going to have to commit we're poor and suffering and marginalized. We think we can change the world by staying just on Harvard's campus, by staying in places of power and privilege, staying just in our elected offices. If we care about injustice, if we care about inequality, if we care about poverty, if we care about disability, if we care about addiction and dependency, we're going to have to get close enough to those who are poor and excluded and neglected, addicted and dependent, to understand the nature of that problem. Second thing we're going to have to do is we're going to have to change these narratives. We have mass incarceration in America because we declared a misguided war on drugs. We said that people who are drug addicted and drug dependent are criminals. For alcoholism, we said that's a disease. And if you know somebody who's an alcoholic and you see them going to a bar, you don't think, oh, we better call the police. We have a different framework. But for addiction and dependency, we said those are criminals, and we've locked up hundreds of thousands of people. Now, I think that narrative has to change, because I think what allowed us, what made us comfortable with those policy choices is what I call the politics of fear and anger. And I'm here to tell you that if we allow ourselves to be governed by fear and anger, we're going to tolerate things we're not supposed to tolerate. That's how you get comfortable with inequality. That's how you get comfortable with injustice. That's how you get comfortable abusing people in ways that are clearly indecent and wrong. You do it because you've been given a narrative of fear and anger that makes you think that that's justifiable. The third thing we're going to have to do is we're going to have to stay hopeful. You have to protect your hope quotient, your hope dynamic. Because sometimes being in spaces like this can rattle you. The faculty are brilliant, but they're trying to complicate the world for you. And sometimes, when the world starts to get complicated, you lose hope that you can do the things you thought you could do. You begin to actually no longer believe that that world-changing thing you were hoping to achieve, you can achieve. And so while you are dealing with the complexity of the world, you're going to have to affirmatively work on protecting your hope. Your hope is vital to your capacity to change the world. I actually believe that hopelessness is the enemy of justice. Injustice prevails where hopelessness persists. The fourth and final thing we're going to have to do, and this is a hard one, we're going to have to do things that are uncomfortable and inconvenient. Because we do not change the world by only doing the things that are comfortable and convenient. And I hate that, because we're humans, and humans are biologically and psychologically programmed to do what's comfortable. We like comfort. And that means that we're going to have to make a choice to do uncomfortable things, to change things. I tried to research my way out of this, I did. As a faithful alum of this university, I looked and did some research, and I tried to find an example where justice prevailed, where equality triumphed, and nobody had to do anything uncomfortable or inconvenient. Can't find any examples of that. I've learned really simple things doing my work. I believe that each of us is more than the worst thing we've ever done. I believe that for every human being. I think if someone tells a lie, they're not just a liar. I think even if you kill someone, you're not just a killer. And justice requires that we know the other things we are before we judge you.
I want to pick out 2 of Stevenson's rules this morning. 1, change the narrative. Change the narrative to something that is not based in fear and anger. You've heard me time and again up here talk about the power of story and the stories we tell about ourselves and the stories we tell about our communities and the stories that we tell other people. They have power to shape attitude and reality. Interestingly enough, social scientists are just starting to delve into studies on this very topic, and very early on in the research, they found, at least on an individual level, the stories that we tell about ourselves, our self-conception, has a way of drawing us into being the person that we're talking about in that story. Even if it's not true yet, it becomes true the more we tell the story. Narrative matters. And number 2, get proximate. Stay close. Be close with the people you profess to care for, that you want to help, know them as people. We've had a lot of experience over the past several years in being able to get closer to the people we are trying to help. You can see it for several years running when we went on the Mexico missions with our friends at United Church, when we took teens out on spring break to build houses for a community in Puerto Peñasco in Mexico. We got close to the families we were building for. We got close to the community they were existing in. We would go and visit previous houses we built to see how people had turned a house into a home. We got to know the people that we were building for. And it creates a profound shift, especially for those moldable teenage minds heading out to do it. We've seen it in our relationship to our partner church in Romania. For many years, it was something that existed on paper, and we raised money during the collection in February to send off. But it wasn't until just before the pandemic, first when Lazar and Erica came here to preach to us and share about their Unitarian faith in Transylvania, and then an invitation for us to come and join them. And several of us went out to go on that trip and get close to the people, become part of the family for a little while. And all of a sudden, that collection wasn't just money we were wiring off to some unknown destination. We knew what we were giving for, and we knew who we were affecting with that. And we knew we needed to keep that relationship strong and tightened and close, even across a distance. And we've seen it perhaps most clearly over the last few years in the evolving relationship that we here at the Unitarian Church have developed with the folks who run the Espanola Pathways Shelter. It started off as just a charity we selected for our Share the Plate program. And then the founder and director of the shelter came up here to talk to us, share his life story and why it was important to him and the work that he was doing. And again, like our Romanian friends, followed by an invitation for us to come and see. And a few years ago, several of us did take advantage of that opportunity. We went down to Espanola, we went to the shelter, we met with the people who run it. We heard their stories, their struggles. We saw what they were doing and were able to do and still wanted to do in the community. We were able to touch some form of the good they were doing and the depth of the work that they were doing. And those of us who went down came back profoundly changed in a way. Wanted to know how we could draw even closer, do more, be part of the solution with them. When we get proximate, when we get personal with the people we care about and want to help, when we eliminate that barrier of distance, everything becomes real. We shift ourselves from the conceptual to the absolutely personal, because we can't look in another's eyes and turn away. This is how we change the narrative. And the narrative has been changing here even. We have developed more resources and social services for the county that were lacking. We see more and more community charity groups popping up to address specific issues here within our community. You see the ministers of Los Alamos getting together every month when it doesn't snow and sharing with one another what we are doing and meeting those people, getting proximate to those people who are doing the work and getting their hands dirty and finding out how we can help. Stephenson again. We cannot make progress in creating a more just society, healthier communities, if we allow ourselves to be disconnected from the people who are most vulnerable, from the poor, the neglected, the incarcerated, the condemned. If you're trying to make policies in the criminal justice space but have never met someone who's in jail or prison, you haven't been to a jail or prison, you're going to fail. We cannot allow ourselves to be disconnected from the people who live inside the issues we are trying to tackle. Or to put it a little more succinctly, using the words of Shane Claiborne, a Christian evangelist and worker of poverty around the country, who once traveled around the country visiting warehouses and shelters and the people who were doing the work and making a difference and getting close in a vegetable oil-powered refurbished happening. He says, "We will never really make poverty history until we make poverty personal." We can't fix it if we don't own it up deep here. So the narrative changes. And up here, because of how that narrative shifts, we're less and less seeing people as them down in the valley who need our help, but us up here living side by side with people who are affected. Not some outside invasion of some marauding army of the poor, but something present and ever-present and systemic in our own community. And whereas the Protestant work ethic might say that poverty is a moral failing on the part of the person who is in poverty, we're able to shift that narrative again to say, yes, poverty is a moral failure, but it is the collective, our moral failure, our failure as a community to not have a system where everyone can flourish. And that's where the biggest narrative change comes in, moving from objects to subjects among us. No more asking the question, why did they come here? Instead, now the question, how did that communal we, how did we create an environment where our neighbors cannot thrive, cannot flourish? And when we start asking those questions, then we really start living into the covenant that is implied by our principles, by our shared values. And then the other become not problems to solve, but people to love and cherish and want the best for. You know, John, that's all well and good, but, I can't take a lot of time off to go on these field trips, to go visit these places and get up close and personal. I can't take a week off from work and spend a bunch of money to fly over to Transylvania to go meet these people in person. I can't go to Mexico right now because they're talking about shutting down the borders. How am I supposed to get up close and personal with these people that I care about and I want to help? Well, here's the deal. We don't have to wait for the invitation first up to get close. And we don't have to get in our cars. We don't have to get on a plane. We don't even necessarily have to cross the street. We can get close and personal by just shifting our own internal narrative about how we approach the other. Stop and consider, have I made a person into an object? Have I mistaken the poor for a discrete population? Am I making the right assumptions in this instance? Am I challenging what I think I know in this instance? Have I, being human, mistaken my imperfect opinion on the matter for the absolute truth? And can I imagine myself in the situation that my neighbor is in? Can I imagine myself one paycheck away from being in those dire straits? Can I remember a time in my life where I might have been on the brink or in it? Stephenson also says we have to do uncomfortable things to make a difference, and I think there's plenty of discomfort just in that activity alone, of just challenging ourselves on the premise of what we know and what we assume. All of our values together and the covenant that they imply amongst us as Unitarian Universalists are all geared towards all of us together, building at last the beloved community that we dream about but isn't yet true. And it starts here with the work for equity. It starts here with demolishing the idea of the other. It starts with us being brave enough to get up close and personal with those we wish to welcome into our circle. May it be so. As we prepare to return to our everyday lives, it is time to give something of the gifts of this community back to the larger community we are part of. It is time for our offering. During the month of February, all cash and undesignated funds will be sent to our very close and personal friends at our partner church in Fenyokut, Romania and Transylvania. You may give through the basket this morning or through the Givelify app. You can get to the Givelify with the QR code up there on the screen on your phone. The offering will now be accepted. May what you give bring you joy and into deeper relationship with this community. Just a few announcements to highlight before we go. First up, our second Sunday forum has been postponed. It will not be today. It will happen on the fourth Sunday instead, on the 25th of February. Unfortunately, the road conditions coming up from Albuquerque were not conducive to having our speaker come up and join us today, so she will be with us in 2 weeks. Second, bringing up Espanola Pathways Shelter once again. We are doing our regular drive for clothes and other goods needed at the shelter. There will be a complete list available, and the boxes will be outside starting next Saturday on the 17th. We'll have those out there for a month, and on March 17th to bring stuff down there. Get in touch with Tyler Taylor if you want information on what is actually needed. And he also has instructions for how to make cash donations if that is your preference as well. Also next Saturday, while you're bringing your goods to give to Espanola Valley Shelter, we'll be getting rid of some of our own goods here as we organize a bunch of our closets. We'll start that about 1 p.m. I understand chili will be served. We're going to make things much more organized. If you haven't seen them there, don't look. It's a disaster, and we're going to fix that amongst some other spaces as well. And then finally, we have two major events coming up within Unitarian Universalism. First up, our regional assembly takes place April 19th through the 21st. That is in person in Denver, as well as virtual online. You don't have to travel anywhere to attend that either. And very soon, this year's virtual General Assembly will take place. We have now moved to a model where every other year is a virtual assembly, and the intervening years are in person, trying to save people a lot of the travel expenses. This is a big year at General Assembly. This will be the second of 2 votes on that revised Article 2 that I was talking about in the sermon. If you want to have a voice in that, if you want to be one of the representatives for our congregation and be a delegate, you can do that. It doesn't necessarily have to cost you anything. You can register business only as a delegate and make a free will donation for the privilege of that. We'll know in the next couple of weeks how many delegates we are entitled to, given the membership that we reported. But if that's something that interests you, come and have a chat with me over coffee or give me a call sometime. We'd love to have a full delegation, once again, taking part in the work of democracy within our own denomination. And now, would you please rise in body or spirit once more and join in our closing hymn, number 318. Friends, may life bless us and keep us. May the light of life shine upon us and out from within us and be gracious to us and bring us peace. For this is the day. This is the one wild and precious life we have been given. So let us all find a way to rejoice and be glad in it. Go in peace.